All right. Hi, everyone. We're going to take two. My first video, my connection wasn't right or something. So let's hope that this all goes just fine. Um, so hi, everyone. Thank you for jumping on another live with me today, or if you're watching the video in the playback, thanks for watching. As we go through the conversation, please, I want to keep the conversation going. So feel free to drop your questions, your comments, your stories and experiences. Leave them in the comments of the video, and we'll keep the conversation going. So before we get into today's topic, I also want to say a quick thank you to everybody who watched and shared my TEDx video audition. The kind words and the support was absolutely overwhelming, especially as it pertains to the topic that I was talking about. So it was very wonderful to see all of those comments come in, and all of your overwhelming support really means the world to me. So I should find out this month if they did pick my talk, and if they did, then I'll be speaking at TEDx Oshkosh in the fall in October. So fingers crossed. I got all my fingers and toes crossed. But even if they don't pick my talk, I'm going to continue to talk about the topic because it is really important to me. And if I can help even just one person, raise that flag and get a little bit of help before they wind up in the system or behind bars, then I feel like I've done my job. So if you haven't seen the video, you can find it in the timeline, in my page timeline down a little bit. It is TEDx Oshkosh audition, and it is the link between mental illness and our mass incarceration issue in America. So feel free to check it out. If you haven't shared it yet, please do so. And like I said, hopefully together we can get this message out there and get people to be not so afraid to raise that flag and get some people some help. So back to today's topic. So our topic today, breaking down that wall of shame. This topic is really important to me because it was something that took a lot of effort and a lot of time for me to try to overcome. And I say try to overcome because I still have shame creep. It still happens. But these things that I'm going to talk about today have been things that I have constantly been beating into my brain and telling myself these things anytime I feel that shame creep, and really trying to remember these things that I'm going to talk about here today. So before I get into my experiences and my little tidbits of advice for you all, I want to put out a disclaimer that I'm not a doctor, I am not a therapist, I'm not a counselor or a social worker. So please take my advice as friend to friend, as person to person, as somebody who's just sharing some experiences, but please don't take this as medical advice. If you are feeling the need to talk to somebody, I really strongly encourage you to go and find somebody that you can talk to. Go and find a therapist, find a counselor. There's no shame in that at all. I have been to many counselors, many therapists. I continue to see counselors, and it really helps. And it doesn't mean that I'm sick or that I have issues. It just means that I have no problem with having somebody else check me and make sure that my head's on straight, and that that I'm doing right by me and I'm doing healthy things. So again, please, this is my disclaimer. I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, so please seek that out if you feel that you need that. With that said, so I'm gonna just kind of jump right into how I felt shame and where I felt shame, and how I have learned to kind of overcome it or combat it at least. So that feeling of shame for me really started pretty much instantly. The day that my mom was arrested, literally within that hour one, police are tearing apart my house. They're taking papers and they're taking computers and phones and anything that they could possibly think that would help in their investigation. With my mother, they were taking it. And then all of a sudden, they pull out handcuffs and they put my mom in handcuffs and they pull my mom away. And I felt embarrassed. And I felt that shame creep to the point that I couldn't even look at my mom. I had no idea even what they were investigating her for at this point. They're not going to share those details with me, but I knew that something was going on, and clearly they're taking her away, and I felt ashamed of her, and so I couldn't even make eye contact with her. But then things actually got worse. Still in that, the police were there at my house for a good few hours that I know of. They were there even after I was not there. But I was, I was trying to cooperate and answering their questions, and trying not to get upset and defensive when they're taking my things. And I was still supposed to go to school that day. It was a very traumatic experience. And then I saw them pull out another set of handcuffs, and they turned me around and they put handcuffs on me. And they told me that they were that I was under arrest, and they did the whole nine and read me my rights. And so that was like my first real boom. There was no longer shame creep. I was ashamed, and I felt like the tiniest little person in the world. I was so confused. I had done nothing wrong. I didn't even understand what I was being arrested for, but I felt the shame of a criminal. Excuse me, I'm getting over a little bit of a cough, so I apologize if I have to clear my throat or cough. But again, so that was that first like real feeling ashamed, and what am I going to do? To the point that I was mortified. I was afraid for them to walk me out to their car. I'm in handcuffs. I have neighbors. What are they going to think? On the drive to the police station, I was like hunched and crouched in the back of the car, like trying to hide my face, thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to somebody if they see me in the back of a cop car? I've never been arrested before. I had never been to jail before that. I had really never been in any sort of trouble, and so this was very personal to me, and I felt ashamed. So I'm kind of going over to my notes here too, because I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, so this part of the story, me being arrested and me going to jail that day, is actually a piece of the story that I didn't, and sometimes still don't, tell everybody, because I feel very ashamed by it, and have felt very ashamed by it. But when I was in jail that day, it only took them about 8 hours for them to put all